Hello and welcome to the video. This is an update on my thoughts on EdgeTX. EdgeTX version 2.8, it has been out a couple of weeks now. I've had it on this radio and been playing with it. Now, back about a year ago, November 2021, I made this video. That was my first ever experience with EdgeTX. And I installed it because the usual suspects had all been talking about OpenTX was dead and EdgeTX was the future and it was amazing and just you've got to upgrade now. So, you know what? I thought, okay, fantastic, I'll do it. Now, sadly, my experience with that initial version back in November 2021 wasn't fantastic because a lot of those pundits that are talking about EdgeTX as the future way back last year only used 5% of the radio because most of them, from what I can see, are only flying quadcopters. People like me who use a lot of the more advanced functionality were finding there's lots of parts of EdgeTX that just wasn't up to snuff back then. And I talked about that in the video and got quite a lot of shade for the fact that I wasn't just jumping on that bandwagon. However, one of the developers actually reached out and got in touch and we actually made this video together where he basically said, yeah, I kind of agree with everything you said. So I was kind of right. However, a lot has changed in the last 12 months, and I'm very pleased to say that EdgeTX has come an awful long way. And with this latest version and the latest update to the Yahoo telemetry script, I'm kind of happy to give it a double thumbs up for those of us that don't just fly quads. So, is it worth upgrading now? The short answer is, finally, yes it is, especially if you fly other things apart from quadcopters where you need more than a basic 6 or 7 channels and the sub trim is about as fancy as you get. So I thought it'd be interesting to look at what EdgeTX is like in version 2.8 here on the radio while I talk about it without all the hype. The interface in the latest version is finally changing to be more touch friendly, and the underlying operating system in here has been completely redesigned and continues to be refined and developed. And that means that the good news is that this is an operating system that is much easier to develop on, and all of the love and attention from the community at the moment is going into adding features into this EdgeTX system. Now, there are a number of key features in EdgeTX version 2.8. The user interface framework for the color screen radios like this one here has been completely overhauled. So they're now optimized for touch. You can see here that now things, rather than just being a version of the terrible OpenTX interface, which everyone hated, with touch enabled, now there is some optimization happening, and I'm very, very excited to see that. This is what I wanted from EdgeTX, is to, rather than just be OpenTX in a nice address, is to actually think about what the modern radios look like and the modern capabilities of these radios. There's a new model select screen, a new method of organizing models. The Lua API has been extended, so it's possible to recreate built-in widgets with Lua now on the radios. And the radios also, you'll see in a moment, have the ability to power the Auxiliary 1 and Auxiliary 2 serial UARTs on the bottom of radios like this, so you can turn the power on and off to things like external GPS units and stuff like that. Channel outputs have been added to logging. Express LRS is starting to support native baro and variometer receivers. We've looked at a couple on the channel already, and support for that telemetry style has been added. And there's also additional things in the telemetry stuff here where there are extended link quality warnings, which is kind of useful for Express LRS. Now, there's a massive list of all the things that are changing, and the team are doing a fantastic job in adding lots and lots of much better stuff into EdgeTX. Now, all the basics are kind of covered. They're really starting to work on the usability part, something that the friends at OpenTX never really got round to doing. There are also updates for Companion, so now you can check for and download updates for the radio firmware, Companion, the multi-protocol module, SD card packs, sound pack and themes from within Companion itself. Now, that's been needed for quite a long time because you don't want to be using Companion for one thing and then jumping into websites for something else. And really nicely, instead of just overwriting a model when doing a copy and paste back to the radio, Companion will do cute things now, like it'll prompt you whether you want to insert, overwrite or cancel the action. So rather than you just copy one individual model onto your radio and overwrite 30 other models, that can't happen with the latest version. But what are the reasons that would force an update now? Well, OpenTX development at this point is pretty much over. So if something's broken or you don't like it, it's tough. Many of us have learned to use the interface in OpenTX and have got used to it, so now it just kind of works. But for many pilots coming into OpenTX, it's just overwhelming. And I absolutely understand why many feel that way. The use of a similar interface to set up and manage your models is evolving now here in EdgeTX. And although it is similar, we are starting to see those advancements in things like the navigation being more intuitive, things being laid out a lot better, the use of the graphics to display what's going on, those little things like showing the channel values alongside the individual channels inside, things like the outputs and mixer, are just so nice to see. Also, there's lots of improvements that are coming along to things like the Lua scripts, and lots of developers are putting the majority of their effort into making that is working with EdgeTX rather than OpenTX. And I found, for example, in the Radiomaster Express LRS radios that I had in a couple of weeks ago, I had a problem when I tried it with OpenTX, and that is because they're not testing those modules with OpenTX. So if you're an Express LRS person and you want to use that latest technology, then you need EdgeTX really. And the last thing here, as I said at the beginning, is Yahoo finally works on my radio. So now I can use this radio with systems like Express LRS and Crossfire and FreeSky receivers and get my telemetry back from things like my Ardu Pilot builds. So if you are running an older radio with older receivers and the Lua scripts are on there and it's all kind of working for you, then there may not be something on that list that's really going to grab you. But what EdgeTX now represents is the future of the hobby in terms of an open operating system for radios like that Radiomaster TX16S, things from Jumper and lots of other vendors as well. So if you're into the modern hobby and you want to access the latest and greatest technology, Lua scripts, hardware, features, cool things you see in YouTube videos, you're pretty much going to have to be on EdgeTX in order to access that now. The other really nice thing is with the year that we've just had with the EdgeTX development, a massive thank you to all the developers out there who are working hard on this project. The EdgeTX system is an awful lot better, and all of those extra things that I tried to do back in November are now more or less working. Is it perfect? No, it's not, as you just saw as I navigate the menus. Some of the things I would like there, some of the things that are already there just need a little bit of tweaking, but it is massively different from the version that I was playing with 12 months ago, to the point now where I'm going to be happy putting a lot of my fixed-wing models on this and take them out to fly, because everything that I want, including the Lua scripts that I depend on for telemetry for some of the things that I have here, are now all working great. So if you've been holding on to update to EdgeTX, I think it might be time to revisit that decision. Again, if you have an older radio with older receivers, with older versions of the Lua scripts, and you have a system that just works, then there is an argument to say, yeah, well, you know what, I'm just going to stick here, but when I get my new radio, I'll go to EdgeTX. But if you have something like the Radiomaster TX16S, you want to use things like Express LRS, the latest versions of the Lua script, all the cool stuff that you're going to see in the forums and on places like here on YouTube, it might be time to spend a bit of time over the Christmas period, download it and do the update. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that if you're trying to learn a topic will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.